Shri Ravi Bhoothalingam, Shri Tripathi ji, our dear and honorable Chinese friend, Mr. Zhang Yuhai, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special and happy day for us at ORF Mumbai, and especially for me. It's a special day because we have organized this program for the first time in ORF Mumbai, a program on a country that has fascinated me for a long time, and I'm sure it fascinates all of you. China has arrived on the world scene almost in the way Napoleon had predicted, and none can pretend not to see its arrival. It's special and happy day for us also because of the way this program progressed from concept to reality in a short time. To me, it appears that the way it really augurs very well for the agenda we have in mind, and that agenda, friends, is something that we have proclaimed in the display area of our office: the agenda to revive India-China friendship. I must thank Shri Bhoothalingam for planting the seed of this idea. And just when the seed was about to sprout, it received nourishment from two distinguished persons that you see on the dais. I can only think of it as synchronicity, because I didn't know till yesterday that we would have Tripathi ji and would have Consul Mr. Zhang attending this program. When you have a good idea in mind and that idea is backed by good intent, I think that heaven itself conspires to make it happen. And I think that the idea of revival of India-China friendship is something that heaven is conspiring to make happen. Friends, many of you know Tripathi ji only as a political person. He is the General Secretary of the Nationalist Congress Party, NCP. But I know, and all those who know him closely know, that he is a first-rate intellectual. An intellectual who has made a very quiet but solid contribution to promoting India-China friendship. And he's been doing so for many years, almost from the time he was at JNU, and he was one of the best known students and best known activists of JNU. He came yesterday to our office with a copy of the journal that he has founded and of which he is the editor-in-chief. It's Think India. This is the latest issue, and this entire issue is devoted to China. So he came to my office to give a copy of it. So happened that there's a contribution by me in this special issue, but that was really secondary. I was very happy to receive Tripathi ji for the first time in our office, and I made a request that he must attend today's program and preside over it. He has come to Bombay to participate in his party meetings, and today he had party meetings right from morning till late night, but he rescheduled all his programs to be here. I'm very thankful to you, Tripathi ji. But he's also accepted another invitation of ours. He's going to talk on a very important subject sometime next month on India-Nepal relations. Another country with which he has worked for many years to promote friendship, to remove differences. So all of you are invited to his talk sometime next month on India-Nepal relations. Mr. Jhan, I met only this morning. When I went to his office, the office of the Chinese consulate in Mumbai, to invite him for today's program, he immediately accepted. Not just accepted, but the warmth with which he received my colleague Varsha and me is something that I can't forget. And I take this warmth really as representing the warmth that exists between our two countries. Something that's not really very apparent on the surface, because we in India certainly have the bitter episode of 1962 in mind. But one of the first sentences that Mr. Jhan uttered said, we should take a historical view of our relations. You know, we've been friends for thousands of years, and this is very recent. It shouldn't cloud our perceptions of each other. When he said this, it really echoed something that I have myself recently written in a column, Friends. It's a column devoted to the Chinese Prime Minister, Mr. Wen Jiabao. Permit me to read a few lines from my column. Mr. Wen Jiabao has impressed me and has impressed people around the world. In 2003, our defense minister, then defense minister, George Fernandes, went to China. And many of you probably know that Mr. George Fernandes has taken up causes that did not really make him a friend of China. That's not the issue that I'm going to discuss. But when he met Mr. Wen Jiabao, this is what the Chinese Prime Minister told him. Friendliness accounts for 99.99% of the 2,200-year-old China-India exchanges, and misunderstanding merely 0.01%. It's high time we buried that 0.01% and re-established the 99.99%. Unquote. I later asked George Saab, who for many years was a strong critic of Communist China, if he trusted Wen Jiabao. This was his reply. The Chinese Prime Minister was exceptionally warm and sounded genuine. I felt that we should now leave our misunderstandings behind and build a new relationship. This is George Fernandes. This is what I'm saying, friends. There is something new taking place in the air. फिजा बदल रही है और हमें अब दौड़ना चाहिए. Of course, there are irritants, there are problems. We should not forget or pretend that they don't exist, but mature nations always find a way of overcoming those differences through cooperation, friendship. And today's talk, friends, is our own modest contribution to promoting India-China friendship. And for this, I'm extremely happy that we have in Shri Bhoothalingam the right person to tell us why this friendship matters. I remember that I have known him for many years now. I remember that our very first conversation was in praise of an article that he had written on China, which itself was in praise of a very eminent scholar, Professor Joseph Needham. And I said, and I'm sure he's going to talk about him, and I'm sure that we struck a relationship, and we said to each other that we must work for stronger India-China friendship. A few months back, he delivered a lecture at the Observer Research Foundation, New Delhi. The subject of his talk, friends, it may sound very academic, ways of thinking, psycho-linguistic reflections on Sino-Indian relationships and potentialities. But if you read it, and we have kept this for distribution, you will know what a great scholar Ravi ji is. And I'm sure that scholarship is again going to be on display today as he speaks on a subject which is extremely important. China 2020, a Confucian democracy. जैसे मैंने कहा कि भारत और चीन के बीच फिजा बदल रही है, चीन के अंदर भी फिजा बदल रही है. एक बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन वहाँ हो रहा है. And there is a tremendous revival of interest, not superficial interest, but deep interest in the ancient wisdom, ancient heritage, intellectual heritage, spiritual heritage of China, represented by Confucius. And my own thinking or analysis is that this transformation is going to take place very harmoniously and peacefully. A great event, a great transformation in the history of mankind. I won't take much time, friends, except to say two things. That when you study Confucius, you actually begin to see how closely it echoes the wisdom of ancient India. We have created a poster outside. Some of you might have seen it. A Confucian thought. The thought is to cultivate moral qualities in an individual is the same as being in government. To cultivate moral qualities in an individual is the same as being in government. Very intriguing. लेकिन देखिए स्वराज का अर्थ क्या है? भारत के इतिहास में स्वराज, it never meant mere political freedom. स्व पर राज. स्व यानी क्या? स्व is the individual self, also the national self. स्वराज, भारत के लिए स्वराज, लेकिन केवल भारत के लिए स्वराज नहीं, मैं भी अपने स्वाधीन में आऊं. स्वाधीनता आंदोलन का अर्थ था कि भारत स्वाधीन हो, लेकिन हर एक भारतीय नागरिक, एवरी इंडियन सिटीजन ऑल्सो बिकम स्वाधीन, यानी स्व के अधीन. स्व के अधीन यानी टू कल्टिवेट वन सेल्फ.